Taoiseach, I presume that in all meetings with members of the British Government or with the Northern Ireland Executive, that legacy issues are discussed. And I think that a message needs to be clearly and repeatedly given to the British Government that their proposal in regard to introducing an amnesty for murderers, be they members of the state forces or members of paramilitary organisations, some who masqueraded as Republicans and others who masqueraded as loyalists, that under no circumstances should such persons be given an amnesty for committing heinous crimes and in many instances committing murder as well. It's very important that that message is repeated to the British Government. Taoiseach, as you know, we're approaching the half-century since some of those crimes were carried out. Next December in Belturbet, County Cavan will mark the 50th anniversary of the murder of 2 young teenagers by a bomb that was brought across from County Fermanagh. Nobody has ever been brought to justice. In my own constituency, in 2 years' time, it will mark the desperate atrocities that happened in Dublin and Monaghan on May 1974. Still nobody has been brought to justice. And we've a complete lack of recognition by the British Government over the years in relation to the need to give full cooperation and have full and thorough investigations into those desperate atrocities. Not alone have people campaigned for decades to get the truth, but they want to see the truth established. And we all know that as every day goes by, it's going to be more difficult. So particular emphasis needs to be put on the need to get progress in regard to legacy issues. Thank you, Cancor.
In relation to Deputy Smith's point, and others have related to this, there's no question of the Irish Government in any shape or form supporting an amnesty. We do not agree with the British Government's proposals in respect of legacy. We believe they're wrong because they would give everybody who's committed murder, whether they're state forces or paramilitaries or whoever, an amnesty, and that would be totally unacceptable. It would be a betrayal of the victims of all violence. And I take on board what the Deputy has said in terms of the 50th anniversary coming up in terms of Belturbet and other attacks in Dublin Monaghan. And I accept the point that you're making that there's no sense yet for a lot of people, a lot of victims, of closure or answers in terms of who did what. And when I mentioned, Deputy Tobin raised the issue, and we met with the victims of the Glenanne gang, and I accept the point that there's an extra onus on the state, but that does not excuse what happened, on Bloody Friday or in Kingsmills. I was watching Reeling in the Years there the week before last, I think, and I think it was 1974. It was shocking, the Birmingham bombs again, the Guildford Four. No one has ever been, that's just the line underneath, no one has ever been brought to justice or in respect of who committed that atrocity. And for the victims of that atrocity, to this day, that hurts. And I think we need to acknowledge that too, in respect of what happened in a whole range of situations in those very dark years. And many, many people feel that they're being forgotten about, or the loss of their loved ones has been completely forgotten about, and there's not balance in terms of how we approach that. And I believe that the British Government has dragged its feet too long on legacy, in my view. 10 years ago, agreement had been reached between the two governments. I'd finally say that we believe that British soldiers should be brought to justice in terms of atrocities like Bloody Sunday and Ballymurphy and others. But all those who are guilty, and that collusion, I said it earlier, the state forces were involved with all paramilitaries. And Operation Canova is revealing a lot too, apparently. I'm just reading generally what I'm reading in various reports and media and so on like that, in terms of the operation of intelligence operatives in the north during a prolonged period of time. It seems to me the people most who don't want closure or who don't want the light shone on this are all those who were engaged in the killing. There's almost a kind of an unspoken, and I'm saying this, just a sense I get because I've been a long time dealing with legacy. I can go back to Eames and Bradley, and I was sceptical then that those who pulled the triggers and planted the bombs would ever come forward and tell an unvarnished truth about what happened. And it hasn't happened. They haven't come forward. And the result is a lot of families out there who have never got answers as to why their loved ones were killed. And I think that's an issue. But in any event, we're all agreed in this House, we're against the legacy proposals of the British Government. and against the idea of an amnesty. And there needs to be clarity and transparency brought to what happened.